Hello everyone, and today this video is on a new chapter, that is the reproductive system. Okay, so in this reproductive system, we will generally discuss about the human reproductive system. But what it is all about? It is about knowing the process of reproduction. You all know that reproduction is a process of producing new individuals of the same kind, yes or no? And why is this process essential? We know that because it will help in the continuance of life on the earth. So in this chapter on human reproductive system, we will try to cover a wide range of informations, which are useful for even a common man. All right, so if we talk about reproduction in general, if we talk about reproduction in general, so it is actually the formation of new individuals by the sexual or asexual means, which can repeat the process in their own turn. Alright, so we all know that there are two patterns of reproduction. One is your asexual mode of reproduction and the other one is your sexual mode of reproduction. Now if we talk about the basic difference between the asexual mode of reproduction and the sexual mode of reproduction, then we know that, let's compare first asexual and then sexual. So in asexual, no gametes are formed. We do not have the formation of gametes. Gametes means what? That is the sex cells. In case of humans, you all know that in females it is the ova, and in case of your males it is the sperms. Right, so these things are not produced in asexual reproduction. Even if in case of your plants and all, also you have your asexual mode of reproduction and sexual mode of reproduction. Whereas when we say sexual reproduction, gametes are formed. In asexual reproduction, there is no mixing of genetic material, therefore no or less variation in the offsprings. All right, whereas in sexual reproduction, there is the mixing of the genetic material. Right, so therefore in asexual reproduction normally more offsprings are produced, whereas in sexual reproduction fewer offsprings are produced. So therefore in asexual reproduction, if you talk about there is no involvement of two parents, only one parent is involved, whereas in sexual reproduction both the male and the females are involved. Now this mode of asexual reproduction is found to be a very rapid process. When there is a favorable conditions, that asexual mode of reproduction takes place in a rapid rate, whereas in case of a sexual reproduction it is a slower process. So this is actually an introductory part of your what it is all about our reproduction. So when we say reproduction in humans, now we come to the most important part. So the organs of the reproductive system in case of our human beings, they are divided into two groups. One is your primary reproductive organ and the other one is our secondary, or you can say accessory reproductive organ. So when we say primary reproductive parts and your accessory reproductive parts, so whenever we say primary reproductive parts, it means that we are going to deal with the gonads. Gonads means those particular things which are going, that is your testis in males and ovaries in females, which are going to produce the sex cells which are involved in the production of your gametes, that is your sperms in case of your males and your eggs in case of your females. So these primary reproductive parts are actually the ones which are responsible for the production of our gametes, that is their sex cells, that is your sperm and the eggs. Am I clear? So whenever we talk about now the next part, that is your accessory reproductive organs, it will include all the structures, your glands, your ducts, which are going to help in the transfer, and meeting of the two kinds of the sex cells. Therefore, it will lead to fertilization and growth and development of your egg up to the birth of your babies. Now, if you look at this is the structure, first we'll deal with the male reproductive system. This is how it looks like overall, where we can see there are different things. We can see that there is a testis. Now this is just one side view, the other side view is that side. So you will remember that there will be a pair of testis. So similarly, if these are ducts are coming out from there, also one duct will be coming out, so there will be two pairs. So we can see this is the testis, oval in shape, you can see. Then you have, it is inside a thin wall sac like structure. Out here this is the thin wall sac like structure which is out of the body, hanging around in between the thighs, and that is your scrotum. Alright, and then we can see out here a structure, another structure over here, this pinkish part out here. This is a knot-like structure, network of knot-like structures, epididymis, which is divided further into three parts, that is your upper, middle and tail part. And then we have our basa deferens, that is arising from this tail part of the epididymis. Then you can see it's running here. And then we have our different types of glands and all, seminal, vesicle, postrate, bulbourethral. These are the three types of accessory glands. That means they are going to help in the transportation of the sperms, and it will help in bringing about the meeting of the sperms with the egg cells. So all these are accessory part. Okay, when we talk about our primary sex organ, we have our main is your testis. Okay, this is just a single one, so the spelling is Testis. Alright, and we have out here our rectum part, and you have your anus out here. There's a urinary bladder out here. Okay, and you even have your urethra out here, and this is this part, this solid vascular structures. Okay, the muscular. This is your penis. Okay, so now we will deal in details. So first we talk about our male reproductive system. So in case of our male reproductive system, it comprises of, okay, a pair of testes. Alright, it comprises of a pair of our testes, which will help in the production of our sperm. So that means in that testis there will be certain other also things present, okay, that will help in the production of sperm, which will be dealing with details in your testis. Then comes your sperm duct is present, which is also known as your vasa deferens. We have your accessory glands like your bulbourethral. You already saw that the seminal vesicles, okay, and then you saw your prostate glands. Okay, so they are also there. Then you have your penis, that is okay, and their urethra is present. So these are all the part of your male reproductive system. Now beginning with our testes. So we are going to begin with the primary primary reproductive organ in male. So the primary reproductive organ in male is our testis. First we'll talk about its location and its shape and all. So when we look at it, you will find, okay, whenever you will see a pair of testes is present, and the main function of testis is production of our sperms. Okay, now the two testes, popularly they are called actually your testicles. Okay, and if you look at the shape, they are oval in shape, which are contained in a thin walled sac of skin called your scrotum, which is also known as your scrotal sac. So if you look at here, we have, okay, this is the structure of our testis. This is just one single, the other one is present that side. So a pair of testes is present. It is oval in shape. Popularly they are known as your testicles. Okay, and they are contained in where? They are contained in a thin walled sac-like structure, and this is called your scrotum. What is it called? Scrotum, or we say scrotal sac. Okay, now what happens is that, okay, this testis actually, when it is in the embryonic stage, alright, when the baby is in the mother's womb and it is in the embryonic stage, at that time, you know, this testis remains inside the abdomen. It's located inside the abdomen. But before the time of birth, okay, this testis will descend down into this sac-like structure. From the abdomen, they will come down to the sac-like structure. Okay, that is your scrotum. Okay, they will descend down before birth. Now why does this happen is because, you know, that in the human body the temperature is around 37 degrees centigrade, 37, okay, and it is found out that this sperms, when the male gets matured, okay, and then sperm production takes place, so that sperm production, its maturation cannot take place at that particular temperature, so that is inside the body. So that's why it descends down into a sac-like structure, that is your scrotum, where the temperature is slightly lower than what is there in your inside your body. Okay, so this slightly lower temperature favors the maturation and production of sperms, and therefore it makes the male fertile. Okay, otherwise, if at the time of birth, if this testis fails to descend, it fails to descend down into the scrotal sac, then that particular male, okay, will not be, or you can say it is incapable of production of sperms, and they are sterile. Am I clear? So this is really important. Okay, so we have talked about this testis location. Now you have to remember another thing, that it is in the separate sac where the temperature is lower than the temperature of the body, thereby helping the sperms to mature. Alright, so you will be asked the reasoning questions from this portion, so please make sure that you make a note of it. Now look at the structure of this testis. Okay, this is actually how a testis looks like, and now the next part that we'll be discussing is the structure of our testis. So if we look at this, beautiful it is. When you see, you can see that inside the testis, okay, there are so many lobules. Can you see these are lobules? So many structures are present. So actually when we talk about the structure of testis, you have to be now precise. Each testis, now you know there is a pair of testis. Now I'm talking about each testis, alright, is encased in a capsule. Right, they are encased in a capsule-like structure, and internally they are partitioned. You can see internally they are partitioned, okay, into lobules, that is your segments. Okay, you can see. Okay, and there are many lobules present. But if you look at this, each lobule, these are your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are many lobules are there. Okay, so this each lobule, alright, will show further other things. That means there will be other structures present. So each lobule actually, if you look at it, it contains a seminiferous tubule. It contains seminiferous tubules and your interstitial cells, which we will be discussing. So look at this. Now inside this lobule you can see some kind of this coil structures are present, and they are nothing but they are known as your seminiferous tubules. So that means this seminiferous tubules are present inside each lobule. Okay, and the main function of the seminiferous tubule is production of sperms by the process called spermatogenesis. So you have to remember that this is one testis, and this testis is encased in a capsule-like structure. Once you look into the internal part, it is, you can see that it is partitioned into many segments, and each segment consists, alright, you can see the seminiferous tubules. Now these seminiferous tubules, actually it is the place where sperms are produced. Okay, and after the production of the sperm, okay, they will be sent to some other place. Now see, this sperm production, okay, it takes place through a process, and that is called our spermatogenesis. The next part, that is in each lobule we will see, is our interstitial cells. Okay, now in between this seminiferous tubules, whatever space is filled, okay, they are now going to be occupied by this special type of tissues called your interstitial cells, and these interstitial cells are further known as your Leydig cells. Okay, and the main function of these Leydig cells, alright, is to produce the most important male hormone. Okay, and the name of that hormone is testosterone. What is it? Testosterone. So we can see out here whatever we are discussing, I am explaining in that way only. Now, if we look at, alright, the sperm producing cells of the seminiferous tubules, that means these seminiferous tubules are there out here. Now each of these seminiferous tubules, actually they are structures, okay, and they themselves are made up of cells. So they are what? They are actually these sperm producing cells are there. They are going to multiply and they will help in the production of sperms. Now once the sperms have been produced, okay, a little far they are matured, okay, now these sperms will pass into a small network of tubes. Okay, where will they pass now? Into a small network of your tubes. Okay, and from the network there will be another arise of ducts, 12 to 14 ducts that are called your which is going to join and then form a tubular knot like structure, your epididymis. So you can see out here, where is the epididymis? It's here. Can you see this epididymis out here? Okay, now there are, you can see that from these seminiferous tubules there are network of these tubules are there, and these tubules are going to give rise to further duct like, okay, structures out here. 12 to 14 ducts are present, and then it is reaching the epididymis part. You can see out here, that means whatever sperms are being produced by the seminiferous tubules, by the cells of the seminiferous tubules, it will then be passed on to these network out here, and from this network it will reach to 12 to 14 ducts. Then from there it will reach the epididymis, okay, which is a tubular knot like structure. All right. Now this is actually, if you look at its location of this epididymis, it fits like a cap on the upper pole of the testis. You can see on the upper pole of the testis it fits like a cap. Okay. Now, if we look further, this epididymis is a long structure you can see out here. Okay, it's a long structure out here. So we have divided this epididymis into 3 parts. We have the head of the epididymis, you have the body part of the epididymis, and we have the tail part of the epididymis. So you can see this entire thing, actually, this entire thing is actually your epididymis, and you have the head region, you have the body, and you have the tail. That means this entire epididymis is divided into 3 parts. The upper epididymis, the middle epididymis, and the tail epididymis. Alright, so what is happening once again? So therefore it is the structure of a testis, right, and it is encased in a capsule-like structure. If we look into its internal part, we will see that internally it is actually partitioned into many segments, and that segment is called your lobules. Each lobule, okay, contains your tubules, that is your seminiferous tubules, and the cells of the seminiferous tubules will produce, okay, your sperms by the process of spermatogenesis. Sperms are being produced. Okay, in between these seminiferous tubules, whatever cells, whatever spaces is present, they get packed by these interstitial cells, and these interstitial cells, other name is your Leydig cells, which will produce a male hormone called your testosterone. Now once the sperm is produced by, okay, the cells of the seminiferous tubules, then they are sent, okay, then you will see that they will pass into a small network of your tubes. Okay, and from this network of tubes you can see that 13 to 14, okay, ducts will arise, and which will then open into a knot-like structure, tubular knot-like structure, that is called the epididymis. This epididymis is further divided into 3 parts. You have the head of the epididymis, you have the body, and then that is the middle part, and then you have the tail of the epididymis. Okay, now the epididymis, actually you can see it is a fitting like a cap on the upper pole of the testis. Now the epididymis is continued by the side of the testis up to its back from where the distinct tube. Now this is the end of our epididymis. Now from this tail of the epididymis, okay, another duct will arise, and that is called your vasa deferens. Okay, this duct is called our vasa deferens or your sperm duct. This sperm duct further opens into our urethra. So this is how the sperms are transferred. So if we look at it now, before this we are just looking the structures of whatever we saw. So we said about the testis and the testosterone we have already talked about. Now the course of sperms in the male, that is what I was talking about. That means the sperm cells are now being produced in the seminiferous tubules. Now after these sperms are produced, okay, now they are slightly mature, not fully mature, huh? So now after they slowly mature, they will be then sent to a network of tubule-like structure. They will pass into those network of tube-like structures. From there, those network, you can see that there were 12 to 14 ducts arising. So the sperms will pass through those efferent ducts. Those 12 to 14 ducts are known as efferent ducts, and from that efferent ducts it is sent to the epididymis, first to the upper end, then to the middle of the epididymis, then to the tail part of the epididymis, from where it joins the sperm duct, which I showed you. It's also known as a vasa deferens, and then finally passes through the urethra. Okay, so number 2 is our sperm ducts. Now the sperm duct is also known as a vasa deferens, okay, and from each testis a sperm duct will travel up into the abdomen, passing through the inguinal canal. Now this inguinal canal actually allows the descending of the testis in the scrotum before birth. That means we talked about that testis will descend into a scrotal sac. So how does it descend? It passes through one canal, and that canal is called your inguinal canal. So you have to know the function of the inguinal canal. Alright. Then we talk about now our next portion, that is our accessory glands. Alright, so when we say accessory glands, we can see that, okay, there is first one, that is your seminal vesicles, right, is the first accessory glands. Alright, then we have the posturate glands, and then we have the bulbourethral glands, and finally we have the penis. Okay, so firstly, we are going to talk about the seminal vesicles. So this is actually a pair of lobulated glands. Okay, seminal vesicle is a pair of lobulated glands, okay, which is located between the posterior surface of the urinary bladder and the rectum. Alright. So if we look at the structure out here, okay, so I hope this structure of this epididymis, then efferent ductules, these are the efferent ducts, and then your this vasa deferens, that is your sperm duct, and all is clear. So this was all about your testis. Then we now move, okay, to our the second portion, that was our sperm ducts, that is your vasa deferens, and then finally the accessory glands, where we have the seminal vesicles. So when we talk about seminal vesicles, you have to remember that they are also lobulated type of glands, and a duct will come out from each seminal vesicle. That means it's a kind of a vessel. Alright, from that vessel a duct will arise, and this duct will go and join the sperm duct, okay, which I showed you where the sperm duct is located, and this sperm duct will go and then finally join the urethra. So what does this seminal vesicles actually do? So therefore you have to remember that it will produce some kind of secretion, okay, and the secretion which is produced will serve as a medium for the transportation of the sperms. The mixture of this fluid and the sperms will produce a milky fluid, and that is called your semen. So actually, you know, this seminal vesicles will produce a secretion, okay, and that secretion will act as a medium, means the sperms are there already, but the sperms alone, it cannot be motile, okay, it cannot just move like that. So that sperms has to be contained in a particular kind of a liquid. So that liquid, that milky fluid, is produced by the seminal vesicles. So therefore the sperm plus the milky fluid together, they form the semen, okay. Then we have the next gland, that is a prostate gland. So it is also a bilobed structure, and it is going to find it is found that it surrounds the urethra, right, close to its origin from the bladder. Alright, so therefore what does it do actually? It pours alkaline secretion into the semen. Now the semen is there. Now the semen will be present. So it's already a milky fluid plus your sperms is forming your semen. Now another secretion is added to that particular liquid, so prostate gland will add an alkaline solution to it, alkaline secretion, okay. Why alkaline secretion? Because the sperms, when they are going to enter the female tract, that is your vagina, it is found that the vagina is acidic, okay. The sperms will die if, alright, just they pass like that, because vagina is acidic, so it will kill the sperm. So that's why, to neutralize the effect, acidic effect of female's vagina, this alkaline secretion will now be present in that semen. So therefore semen plus this alkaline secretion, alright, that is released. Understood? So therefore it's going to neutralize the acid in the female's vagina. The next gland is our bulbourethral gland. So these are two small ovoid glands, alright, which opens into the urethra just before it enters the penis, and the secretion will serve as a kind of a lubricant. Whatever secretion is there, it will help in the lubrication. So you have to remember the secretions from all the three glands, what are their functions and their purpose, alright, it's very, very important. Lastly, we have to talk about the penis. So it is actually, it lies in the front of the scrotum. It is cylindrical in shape, serves for the passing out of both your semen as well as your urine. It is a highly vascular organ having erectile tissues and, you know, vascular spaces. Under the influence of any kind of sexual stimulation, the blood will start to flow in large amount into the penis and enters into, okay, its spaces or sinuses, and then it will start making it rigid and erect. So expansion of these spaces, okay, compresses the veins, and thus blood cannot drain out. So such a condition of penis is called your erection. So that is all about your penis, and this was all about our male reproductive system. So I hope you all have understood, and for the next portion we will be continuing in the next class. So we discussed about penis, bulbourethral gland, prostate gland, accessory gland, and sperm ducts, which were your accessory parts, and then we talked about our testis, which was the main primary reproductive part of the male, where we looked at the diagram and we saw various things which will make it very, very clear to us now whenever we are going to study the chapter in more details. Right? So with this I end the chapter.